How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to Continues to Tick. Here we are once again, but now past the midway point of April. Closer to May we are, and may I even say closer to the halfway point of the year, of June. I hope you guys are well, and hopefully last week treated you okay. I continue to slowly and systematically build what I believe to be a crucial foundation in my 20s. Later this year I'll be turning 26, and just like that, I'll be closer to 30 than I would be to age 20. Man, does time fly. But it's sneaky like that, in the sense that if you happen to just live and not notice, it'll move right beneath you. And one way you'll find out it passed you is when you want to get things done and realize that you no longer have the time, nor the strength. And sure, I'm talking about reaching an elderly age, but ask many elderly individuals you know, and they'll tell you it didn't feel that long or long enough to reach that age. And that's something my 90-year-old grandfather would continually say. And funny because now my 65 turning 66-year-old father is also saying this. And me, I guess I'm saying it too. So in this week's video, we'll be going into part 3 now of the Dividend Investing Foundations. Part 3 is what I would consider one of the most critical thinking points when it comes to investing in general, but we'll keep it specific to dividend investors. But first, I just want to point out how fun this YouTube journey has been so far. I'm seeing there are quite a bit of others that also like thinking about time and the future. So do hit the like button if you're enjoying this channel so far, and do consider subscribing as well for those that haven't yet. I feel like I've been saying it often, but the subscriber tally has slowly been increasing now. And just like my dividend portfolio, there's some noticeable momentum here as well. So I do want to just take the time to say thank you. Now, this mini-series has been fun to document, and I hope you may also be enjoying it as well. As here we are now at part 3 of the Dividend Investing Foundations. And as I was mentioning earlier, it's what I consider to be one of the most critical thinking points in terms of growing a dividend portfolio, if not even simply for investing in general. Therefore, today for part 3, we'll discuss house and cars. So when it comes to thinking about finances, or should we even flip it over and look at it with a different light, spending, a car and a house will, for the majority of us, be one, if not our only biggest expenses in our lifetimes, whether it be a single purchase or through a variety of purchases over our lifetime, in the form of debt payback or a mortgage. Looking at it in its entirety, it's not total left field to see it this way. Therefore, I believe this topic to be a critical point for our investing foundation. Because these purchases are so big and commonly made, it's quite easy to end up stuck following one or either of these purchases. And most, if not all of us, will be making both at some point in our lives. Therefore, think deeply about these, as it's so common these days to follow the trend and end up what people would call house poor and car poor, stuck, having spent too much cash or capital on these purchases, stunting your overall growth in other areas, such as the ability to continually invest or funnel money into your dividend growth portfolio, or just plans for retirement. An angle I use to ground myself with these decisions, particularly, is to think to myself and see others and the financial decisions they made. A common strategy others at my work pursue, for example, is working a lot of overtime to buy their nice sports cars or a large down payment to a house. But a sacrifice is that, a sacrifice. And in this particular scenario, what they exchange is their time. And sure, that Tesla is a beautiful piece of machine. And sure, that 3-car garage looks great behind that larger green front lawn on your personal plot of land, your land. But I must point out, getting older, and with that wiser, comes with the caveat of the inability to make less mistakes as time goes on, such as being less able to repeat the past, if needed or wanted. If you're front-loading your present in exchange for capital or time, you may very easily find yourself tethered and chained to needing to work forever or live frugally in your golden years, as your best years may have potentially peaked and been left behind you. And some are okay with this, me not so much, but again, there is no right or wrong answer. Happiness is like a snowflake, unique only to ourselves. All I will say, though, is to think heavy and hard before you make these purchases, no matter how you decide to go about making them, paying for them, as these 2 purchases alone likely summarize the majority of people's financial stunting, whether they knew it at the time or not. But also with this, find that balance. Don't stay stagnated either, and scared to make a move, as stagnation is just as harmful. It's harmful for your mental growth, spiritual growth, relationships, medical health, all building up and potentially also tying into your finances. As for me, my strategy is to continually build in my 20s and balance this with pleasure in specific areas, not all areas, such as time with loved ones in Airbnbs and setting aside a certain set of money to take my family, particularly my mother and father who won't soon always be here with me, on yearly vacations. All this with the primary intention of pushing off a majority present day pleasure for overall future reward, mainly with the end goal of buying back my time, hopefully by age 50, if not sooner. Planning so by working with the state of California currently today, building up that pension, and funneling money hard into the dividend growth portfolio. Now, just as you, I can't read the future, even as much as I may think about it, but I have this idea that consistency leads to progress, and progress leads to results. Don't stunt these results with your car or house, but do have a car and a house. And remember, there is no right or wrong. Whatever you decide will be right for you. And with this, let's go ahead to closing out this week's video by going to the portfolio review for this week. So here we are now, having crossed the $23,000 mark, and noticeably so. And let me tell you, first and foremost, I have no idea what happened this last week in the market, whether it be the stock market and shall I even say the cryptocurrency market. The green lawn had no end in sight, and I'm content to say it sure did transfer to the dividend portfolio this last week, as we practically had a $1,000 portfolio gain since my last week's video. And this was with the typical investment of $500. Nothing else changed. But here we are, with an all-time return of 36.88%. It was just a few weeks ago where I had mentioned we had just crossed into the 30% return range. And here we are at 36.88%, closer to 40% than 30. And it's definitely surprising me. But this return percentage equates to $3,640. And from this, $279, according to M1 Finance, is from earned dividends. And here we are at the market gain of $3,360. So I will point out that I believe this is the first time from just market gain alone we have crossed into the $3,000 range. And like I've said before, this is a cherry on top. I am technically pursuing a dividend growth portfolio, but at the end of the day, I'm pursuing dividends. The growth is a cherry on top. I wasn't expecting it to come this soon. I did start this portfolio, as you can see here, on July 20th of 2020. This was in the crazy year of 2020, right after the market dip and recovery, and I wouldn't expect to be here today with a market gain of $3,360, or according to M1 Finance here, a percentage gain of 36.88%. At the end of the day, I think what this is teaching me is that there's really no need to time the market. The most important thing is to just begin. Stay consistent. I thought when I initially started this portfolio last year on July 20th of 2020, I had missed out on a lot of gains because the 2020 market crash had just happened along with the recovery. And I wasn't very optimistic, but I was like, you know what? I have to just begin and I have to stay steady with my investments, come up with a game plan. And that's what I've been doing. And so far, it's been paying dividends, no pun intended. And just to show you here this last week alone, it was a 2% return with a market gain of $494. So this is not including my deposit of $500. This is just market gain. And as you can see here, it is just market gain, $490. The other $445 is from earned dividends. So interesting to see, right? If I take you down here, switching back to the all-time chart, you can see the green lawn. And if we look a little deeper, we can see that the best sectors right now that I have in my portfolio is 1, financials. 2nd, the ETF that I'm holding. As I continually say, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I consider myself an average investor who just did his research like everybody else. And I'm just sticking to a game plan and I'm documenting it along the way. And the journey's been fun. And just remember, if you don't see the green lawn, it shouldn't be a problem as long as the holdings in your portfolio are still paying you dividends. A dividend portfolio is that. It's you seeking dividends, seeking passive income. What you're seeing here is just a cherry on top. I never planned to sell this portfolio, so seeing a huge amount of gain, it's really only a psychological boost. But because I'm never going to sell, it shouldn't really ever matter. That part shouldn't make too much of a difference. It's just a little extra cherry on top. Going into the activity section for this past week, and just going back a little further still, because I believe last week's video ended on April 8th. But going on to April 9th, we also got paid a couple more dividends, some that I didn't show in last week's video. We got paid by Philip Morris on April 9th, $3.34. Also on April 9th, we got paid by Chubb, $1.84. Now going into this past week, we had April 14th here. We had our $500 deposit just like we always do. That hasn't changed. And with this, we had an $8.46 snowball. And this is really what it's all about. We're starting to really see on a weekly basis that we're now investing money that technically really wasn't ours to begin with. Now going on to April 15th, you could see here from Avalon Bay Communities, we got a big dividend payout. It's a REIT, $4.38. Also on April 15th, we got Essex, another REIT, $3.66. Another REIT, also on April 15th, we got paid from O, $2.49. And lastly, also on April 15th, we got paid from Sempra Energy, $2.28. But Medtronic here, $2.51. This is the passive income that I'm after. And we're starting to see that momentum building. And it does excite me because it took a while to get here. The beginning was quite slow. The first snowball was really small. And as we're climbing this hill, we're building up momentum, still providing extra support, but not for long, as that will eventually change. I won't have to do that forever. And that's going to be it for this week's video. We got $23,809 currently in the Jesse's cash flow portfolio, and currently also with a cash balance of $15.90. So next week I also anticipate seeing a pretty good snowball action. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did enjoy, do hit the like button. It does help. And if you haven't subscribed already, do consider subscribing. This journey of growing this YouTube channel, of growing this dividend growth portfolio, neither will be stopping anytime soon. I've had a lot of fun with this so far, and I'm looking forward to everything that's to come. But I wish you guys a good upcoming week. Today is Sunday as I recorded this. I'll be pushing this out tomorrow morning. So have a good, happy Monday. Mondays are always tough, but we can do it. We'll get through it. And I'll see you guys on next week's video. And until then, keep investing. Stay consistent. You got this. Peace.